Eufy calls it a 3-in-1 device. It can be used as a conventional robot vacuum, a hand vac for those hard-to-reach places, and even as a stick vacuum with the provided wand and floor head. But wait, there's more. This thing is also bundled with a self-empty docking station, so you don't have to do the dirty work of emptying its dustbin yourself. With all those ingredients in the mix, is it a sloppy mess or a combo meal fit for a king? I'm Evan from Rtings.com, here to answer all that and more. Before we go any further, I should probably explain how this supposed 3-in-1 design actually works. Essentially, you can just view the E20 as a robot vacuum with a removable one-piece module that contains the motor, battery, dustbin, and filtration system. That whole assembly can be taken out of the vacuum and used independently as a hand vacuum, or hooked up to a wand and floor head so that you can use it as a stick vacuum. There's no getting around the fact that this unconventional design comes with a few quirks though. Those quirks come into play when you're using the vacuum manually. For instance, since the battery is built into the motor unit, you'll need to put it back into the robot vacuum chassis so that it can recharge at its dock. You can empty its dustbin yourself by cracking open the dustbin door and dumping out whatever's inside, but this process is pretty messy. Instead, you can just make use of the self-empty docking station for this process. The process is a tad clunky though, since you have to put the main motor unit back into the robot vacuum chassis, then engage the self-empty function, but on the upside, this is a lot more hygienic than doing it yourself. Let's get down to brass tacks. As far as build quality goes, the E20 is solid, but not spectacular. It doesn't measure up to Dream or Roborock's mid-range offerings like the Dream L10S Ultra or the Roborock Q-Revo series, but honestly, it's not all bad in this respect. The RoboVac body and main motor module are made of thick plastic, which looks and feels alright for the most part. There's nothing here that screams Fisher-Price toy. That said, it's worth noting that some of the glossy plastic accent pieces on the motor module can get marked up when reinstalling it back into the RoboVac body. Minor aesthetic issues aside, the main things that let the E20 down are its accessories. The provided wand and floor head almost feel like they were pulled from a different product entirely. The wand forms a loose, creaky connection with the main motor unit, and both parts creak and wobble while using the vacuum. As a robot vacuum, the E20 is a little monster on bare floors, easily clearing away both lightweight and heavy debris. We measured just over 13 CFM of airflow in testing, which is very competitive for a robot vacuum. Performance isn't as good on carpeted floors, but to be perfectly honest, that's normal as far as robot vacuums go. It'll do a fair job of dealing with most messes, especially if you run it often. It's less wow and more meh when used as a stick vacuum, however. This is mostly down to its floor head design, which heavily restricts airflow. It'll struggle to lift away debris heavier than a few chunks of cereal, or anything embedded in carpet fibers. We recently redesigned our testing methodology to better evaluate robot vacuum navigation and obstacle handling performance, and it's a good thing we did, because the E20 absolutely deserves its flowers here. It uses a combined sensor setup, with a LiDAR turret for room mapping and a pair of front-facing laser sensors for spotting obstacles. Higher-end models like the Dream L40 Ultra use structured light sensors or even cameras in place of laser sensors, but the E20 shows that there's plenty of value in a simpler solution. Pathing is reliable and thorough, and when it's faced with hazards like a pair of shoes, loose socks, or even a pet food bowl, it's very consistent in identifying and avoiding them. The main sore spot is charging cables and rug tassels, which the E20 doesn't always spot in time. In the interest of fairness, eufy does recommend stowing away any loose cords before letting it run. It's also worth noting that the E20's LiDAR tower is pretty tall, and it can't always gauge its own height correctly. As a stick vacuum, the E20 is decently maneuverable. At under 5.5 pounds, it's very much on the lighter end of the scale, so wheeling it around during longer cleaning jobs isn't an exercise in endurance training. That said, those pounds don't feel especially well balanced, giving the vacuum a top-heavy feel. You'll also need to hold it sideways to properly clean under furniture and other tight spots, as the bottom-facing dustbin sticks out quite a fair bit. Be warned that the floor head will get tangled on thicker rugs too. RoboVac manufacturers are rarely stingy with in-app features these days, and thankfully the eufy Clean app is no exception. It has an in-depth scheduling tool which allows you to save different settings for different areas at different times of the day. Once it's mapped out your home, you can also label, divide, merge, or hide rooms, as well as add carpeted sections, which have further specific settings for its Boost IQ power adjustment feature that automatically increases suction on carpets. Beyond that, there's a pretty granular cleaning history section and a part maintenance tab to let you know when it's time to replace various wear parts. There's no industry-leading feature suite here, but it's still a very comprehensive suite of features for a mid-range RoboVac. That said, the one thing you can't fiddle with is the Robot Vacuum's obstacle avoidance system. It's essentially a sealed box, as it doesn't allow you to adjust its sensitivity or even view obstacles that it spotted while out on a cleaning run. Unsurprisingly, there are very few robot stick vacuum combos on the market today. Instead of looking for one-to-one comparisons though, let's take a look at a few buy-it-yourself combos that could approximate the E20's overall capability. As far as budget-friendly stick vacuums go, the Wyze Cordless Vacuum S is a solid option for the money. It's nothing spectacular in terms of debris pickup and kind of feels like a kid's toy, but it still outperforms the E20 in that configuration. Choosing a more affordable stick vacuum like the Wyze gives you a bit more room in the budget as far as RoboVacs go. We'd recommend the Roborock Q5 Max Plus as a good lower mid-range option. Like the eufy, it comes with a self-empty dock, and it lacks mopping capability. The Roborock has a slight edge in debris pickup performance versus the eufy, especially when it comes to pet hair. You can thank the Roborock's dual roller cleaning head for that. However, it lacks any sort of hazard avoidance system, so it's liable to get stuck on obstacles like loose socks or slippers if you don't clear its way first. On the opposite end of the scale, if you want a stick vacuum with a lot more capability and are willing to compromise on RoboVac functionality, we'd recommend pairing a far more powerful cordless model like the Dyson V8 or Samsung Jet 75 with a budget RoboVac like eufy's own L60. In the case of the L60, you'd have to be willing to give up a lot of the debris pickup performance on carpets, not to mention the E20's hazard avoidance tech. Finally, if you don't need the stick vacuum component at all, the Roborock Q-Revo Pro is worth a look as an alternative. It has an even more premium feeling chassis, an even more feature-rich app, and an integrated mopping system, complete with an extending mop pad for cleaning along walls and in corners. That said, its obstacle avoidance system is downright dim-witted in comparison to that of the eufy. So, circling back to our original question, is this a jack-of-all-trades, master-of-none kind of situation? Well, not really. The eufy E20 is the rare all-in-one appliance that doesn't completely compromise on its main goal. Even without the modular design, this would be a very solid mid-range robot vacuum, with highly competitive debris pickup performance, a big spread of in-app cleaning features, and an impressively effective obstacle avoidance system. Unfortunately, the stick vacuum component does feel like a bit of an afterthought. It's perfectly adequate for dealing with small spills, and if that's all you plan on using it for, it'll do just fine. That said, if you live in an apartment or a smaller home and want a cordless vacuum that can clean an entire living space without struggle, this will probably disappoint you. So, that's it for our review of the eufy E20. If you're interested in more detailed performance data, you can check out the full review for this vacuum in both configurations on our website. Until next time, I'm Evan from Rtings.com, where we help you find the best products for your needs. That said, it's worth noting that some of the glossy plaque scent. That's good, definitely. Plaque scent, yeah, we can just condense that.